we are going to do a little video today to just talk you through how to measure yourself when using the book Dressmaking, the Easy Guide. So I've got a very lovely helper, Charlotte, today, who is going to be my little model, and I'm going to measure her and talk you through what points I'm measuring and how to take those accurate measurements for you to be able to use the book and to draft your own patterns. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk through what you actually do to measure yourself and the key things that you need to measure. So we've got just a normal tape measure which has got centimetres and inches, so it depends what you prefer to use. And what we're going to take are the three key measurements that you need for dressmaking, which are listed in the book. So I'm going to measure your bust, we're going to measure your waist, and we're going to measure your hips as well. I'm going to make a note of those, and then we're going to put those then into the book, into the chart, and to see what we're going to be working with and talk you through the process of how you can create a pattern. Okay? So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to measure your bust, which is the widest part of your bust there, to make sure the pattern that you work with is going to fit the biggest part of your bust. And when we work with a bust, you want to make sure that that fits you around here so that you're not affecting and changing darts in that respect. So if you can get the biggest part of your bust as the size that you work with on your bodice, then the rest can be altered and tweaked to fit around your bust. So that's the plan. So I'm going to put my tape measure just underneath there. So lift your arms, but then importantly put them back down. And then when I have the tape measure over your largest part of the bust, what you're not doing is pulling it too tight. So you're pulling it so that you can feel it moving, and you can almost pull it too tight and then loosen it. And then you place your two fingers between yourself and the tape measure. So on here, Charlotte is coming up. If I was going to do a really tight fitting, it would be there, but I'm just going to let it out and say we're talking about a little bit loose at 109 centimetres. I'm just going to write that down. So we are 109 centimetres and then 43 inches. Now the next thing you want to measure is the waist. So we're going to keep to these three key measurements. You've got your bust, your waist and your hips. So your waist, now some people do say, well, where is your waist? Because not everybody has got the waist in exactly the same spot. And also, I think some people have got high waist, low waist and everything that comes with that. So if you're not sure genuinely where your waist is, which might sound a silly question, but it's, as a lot of people go, no, I understand. So if you're not sure, you can close your eyes and just put your hands on your waist, and that is where you kind of feel quite comfortable. You could always put a belt on, or you can just put your tape measure around, and then that is where your waist is. Now I've got quite a high waist, but that is what suits me and my body. So you are measuring for your shape and where you kind of want your waist to be. So if you do that for me now, brilliant. So we will measure. Does that feel about right?
Yeah, that's
so
about right.
I go around here, so you can remove your hands now. And I would say that's quite a nice place for your waist to be there. So again, you can pull it tight, but the point of this is you don't want to make things too tight, because if you pull it too tight, you're going to make a sample that is going to be really too fitted. So you can almost kind of pull it in, but then loosen it out so that you've got your 2 centimetres between the body and the tape measure. And I would say we're about 98 centimetres, and that is a comfortable fit. That's not too tight, equally too loose.
I have to say, the temptation to breathe in when you do that is very, very strong.
I know, so that is the key thing. Now at one point I'm going to tell you to not breathe in. So I'll take longer. So you might see I hold the tape measure a bit longer, because as soon as you've got a tape measure around you, you are right, you instantly want to just breathe in. But then it's not going to fit you and your body unless you walk around breathing in, obviously, which is really uncomfortable. So especially when I fit lots of brides, the key thing is you are measuring your body. So you're not measuring what you think you are, what you want to be. You want to make a garment that fits your body comfortably. So don't be worried about these measurements. These measurements mean nothing to anybody else in the world. No one needs to know these measurements. They are just the measurements you need to work with the right size block to create a dress that fits you. And once that's made, you can sew anything in the labels. Any size, any quote. There's some really cool labels these days as well, so you don't need to get hung up on the size. This is to make sure it fits you. So if you feel yourself breathing in, then I'll tell you to just let it all out. The other thing as well is to just have that good underwear on as well, so what you genuinely feel comfortable in when you're being measured. So the next thing then, hip measurement. is usually 20 centimetres down from the waist. So if you put your hands back on your waist, so you would measure from there and you would actually go down and you'd measure 20 centimetres, which is just about here on the t-shirt line. But what we'll also do is measure the widest part, because some of us go out, I know I do, if I measure 20 centimetres down from my waist, I will find that the bum is my biggest part, so I'll always measure the widest part as well to make sure your skirt pattern will fit. So where I've got it is around here. So again, get your tape measure around, don't pull it tight, so definitely don't be breathing in. And again, because you've got that looseness around there, we're about 122.48 inches. Just make a note of that. Oops, 48 inches. And then we'll also just go for that widest part, just so that we know that the pattern that we use is going to fit. Because your bodies are unique and you want this garment to fit you. So I would say there, 125, so slightly bigger, so it's worth taking that measurement on you 100%, because there's 3 centimetres difference in that. So if you want to, you don't have to if you're new to dressmaking, because those 3 measurements should be all you need to start with. But if you're a bit more experienced and you want to maybe look at more detailed measurements to really get that paper block right before you cut out in calico, you can do things like measuring the actual shoulder to see the width that you want for the shoulder. You can measure from the shoulder point across your bust and down to your waist. If you turn around for me, Charlotte, as well, thank you. You can also go from the shoulder point again on the back down to the waist, so that gives you some useful measurements and proportions. So if you turn back round to the side, you could also then work out where your shoulder point is, and for later on you could measure down to your elbow and then also down to the full length of your arm. So you get those measurements while you're at this stage. The few extra ones in the book, again, if you face the camera for me, thank you very much. You can also go, now this seam is just slightly off your shoulder. So I would say we're measuring more where your shoulder point is here, because that's important that you're not measuring too far off there. But you can also measure across the chest to see how that measurement is working on you. Same on your back as well. And I think the only extra ones then on here are things like waist to knee, waist to floor, and you can also have a little measurement of if you know what you want your cuff to be as well, so you can just measure those. So they're useful, they're not essential. So your bust, your waist, your hips and your largest measurement around are the key ones we need. So that is how you measure to start with. Now just one extra thing with this, when you've got those measurements, if you imagine you make a garment using those exact measurements you've got there, you will find that you'll pretty much make in cotton what would feel like a straight jacket. It'd be very, very tight and very slim fitting to you. So what you need to add in is something called wearing ease. Now that's listed in the book and we're going to talk through that in a sec when we actually look at the measurements. But as you are, you need to have a little bit extra added in onto those measurements to allow you to have a comfortable fit. So when you wear that garment, it feels comfortable, you can move your arms and your body without it being skin tight. So there's room for me to take this in if I really wanted to make this tight, but it's in cotton, so you need a little bit of room to breathe. But design ease is if you don't want a fitted waist and you just want a full A-line dress, then you're looking at adding design ease in. So then that's looking to be a lot more fullness in as a design idea. But your wearing ease is essential to add that in so that you have more movement. At the moment, we're not going to worry about putting a sleeve in, because that will be altered when you start changing your shoulders, your side seam to fit your bodice to you. So we leave the sleeve off for a minute and we're just going to focus on your bodice and your skirt blocks.